my God. Welcome back to live, everybody. Thank you for joining me. So we're doing this a little bit sooner today because we have a lot going on. And I wanted to get to you early so that those who watch later on can rewind and watch it later after they've kind of done their Sunday and gotten everything done. But welcome back to live. Congratulations. We're back. Okay. Lots of stuff to talk about. There's been a lot of stuff that's going on, so I want to try to get to as much of this stuff as possible while giving you guys all of the tea. Okay. So let's get started. Real estate numbers from last week and 2 weeks ago. Los Angeles County did see a huge increase in real estate properties going on the market. When I say real estate properties, I mean townhomes, condos, and single family residences. A week ago, it was 940. This week, it's 13 and change. So obviously, we see a huge increase of homes going on the market. For Orange County, it was 227. It definitely doubled this week with 550, and Riverside County 445 homes were on the market, and this week there were 732, and that's from our local CRMLS. Thank you, Casey Musgraves, telling a story, isn't she? She tells stories, the storyteller. I think Casey Musgraves amazing. She's one of the most talented writers that you didn't know that she was a writer until you knew that she was a writer, right? But I wanted to bring you some more information about what's going on because there's been just a lot of stuff. So let's get on with the tea, guys. Welcome back. All right, so all news, no bullshit. I was speaking to one of my friends who works for Compass last night, and we had a very nice discussion about where we thought the market was going. And more importantly, we had a discussion in regards to Zillow. I'm going to tell you essentially what I told him. I said, I understand that everybody, as far as realtors are concerned, are extremely happy that Zillow is starting to pull out of doing the iBuying. However, Zillow is basically filing Chapter 11 in my sense. I mean, this is just a restructuring. They're not going away anytime soon. So Zillow may have lost this battle, but definitely there's still a war on homes with Zillow, real estate agents, and consumers. So I wanted to give you a little bit more information on what happened. So basically it started with TikTok. And if you guys are not keen to how social media really is actually starting to drive economies, then you haven't been paying attention. Tesla and Elon Musk is a very, very specific and great comparison because when Elon tweets something, social media, it causes stock prices to fluctuate in Tesla and in other EV markets. So it's very important that we pay attention to what social media is kind of putting out because it's very important. People don't get their standard news by turning on channel 7 at 5 o'clock anymore. People are scrolling through the internet late at night like zombies, and that's how they're getting their information, okay? It's just what it is. So TikTok was a huge thing where basically folks on TikTok alleged that Zillow was manipulating housing prices upwards by using the market presence and of course their Zestimates, but this was at the expense of homeowners. Essentially, this was at their expense. So Zillow Zestimates, as they said, are optimistic. They're not prices that you can go to the bank on. They're just what we would think the properties would sell for. But the issue with Zillow is that when you look at pricing property, you can't just look at raw data. That just doesn't work. Raw data is going to tell you some of the story, but it's not going to tell you all of the story. Things like, has the property been upgraded? Is there unpermitted structures on the property? Where is the property located? Is there commercial units behind the property? All those things play a factor in valuations. And those are the things that appraisers, who actually should be the ones that are telling us, things about value, this is what they tell us when we do appraisal appointments, okay? Zillow does not go that far deep into getting that information on their Zestimates. They basically look at house A sold for this, and house B sold for this, and house C sold for this. So collectively, let's do an average and just put this number out and call it a Zestimate. But that is just not how real estate works. There's been a lot of lawsuits in regards to Zestimates being posted online, with property owners saying, you're devaluing my property to the public by posting this Zestimate, and they're absolutely right. There was a case in Malibu, I want to say, a couple of months ago, where the homeowner sued Zillow for posting a Zestimate of his property, and his property was like, multi-million dollar property. And unfortunately, he did lose that lawsuit, but it was kind of what it was signaling of what was to come as far as homeowners going after Zillow. It's really nice and fine and cute and fun when Zillow values your property a little bit higher, but then what does that say to the buyers? It might turn them off. And the thing is, you want to get buyers into the property so that they can actually see it for themselves. Pictures are one thing, being in there and seeing it is a whole nother story. So I'm going to go back to Real Estate 101. This is what I tell my sellers all the time. The price offered for a property is an invitation, okay? It's not just the price you're going to close at. It is an invitation to start a negotiation in regards to the property. Sometimes it hits right on the head. Sometimes it's lower. Sometimes it's higher. It just depends. So there was a boycott that was forming, and Zillow's stock prices actually also took a big hit recently. And a lot of people speculated that it might be signaling of a real estate bubble that was forming because of this. I don't know. Twitter and TikTok users are raging against Zillow, as it looks to sell 7,000 of its properties for $2.8 billion following the failure of a much vaunted business. Last week, Zillow Incorporated was getting ranked by thousands of angry digital protesters, some even welding place cards with a simple message: don't buy Zillow homes. Okay, so that's a quote. That's not me saying that. You can buy Zillow homes if you want to. That's up to you. So, like I said, Zillow is in a war, but Zillow is not done yet. They might be pulling back a little bit from the market, but Zillow is not going anywhere. Like I said, I believe it's much like a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, where they're essentially just restructuring and getting together what they need to kind of move forward, because they are indeed a real estate company. They're not just going to close. They just got to figure it out. I think the problem is that they hit a nerve with some very, very angry buyers, right? Because sellers are just like, whatever. But sellers, you need buyers. So we have to all work together. I mean, including with Zillow. If Zillow worked with more agents, it would be great. Okay, so there's a lot going on with Zillow. I'm definitely keeping an eye on the story. I've been speaking about it, reading about it, and also wanting to report back of what I see and what I think they're doing. I believe they cut something like 24% of their workforce, got rid of them. So it's very signaling, but I don't know if Zillow is going to continue being in the home flipping industry. Maybe they start to make money in another way, who knows? But they do have a lot of inventory, and they do need to sell it. So that could be good in the spring. So we will probably see more inventory come on the market, because typically, homes tend to sell in the spring and the summer anyway. But now with Zillow kind of backing out a little bit, I think the first quarter of 2022 is going to be extremely telling. March is going to be where we really find out what is going on with the housing market. Okay, so just keep an eye on that. Some interesting stuff. Ah, finally, we've got an infrastructure bill that was passed by the Biden administration. It was something like 1.2 trillion dollars worth of loveliness that's coming down the pipeline. Um, so we have a lot of people. We have a lot of money that's getting actually thrown in the state of California, which is great. So this infrastructure bill was voted on. Um, and of course, it was passed at the wee hours. And so now California is going to get a good chunk of that over the next 5 years. They'll get $5.8 billion, which will be very helpful for the state of California because we need all the help that we can get, especially since we have companies like Elon and Tesla pulling out and going into Texas, and then In-N-Out is talking about possibly expanding into Florida, which are all great things, but like it or not, state of California drives the United States economy. Stop playing with me. That's just how it is. Okay. Hi, Sharon. Nice to see you. Um, so yes, so California, let me give you a little breakdown of what that infrastructure bill for our state looks like as far as dollars and cents are concerned. I'm not going to give you from penny to penny, but I'm going to point out a few things that I thought was interesting. Okay, so the bill adds significant investments in infrastructure for EV vehicles. Oh my God. We're going to get more superchargers. This is great. Broadband, wildfire protection, drinking water in airports. California expects to receive 25.3 billion for federal aid, highway appropriation funds, and 4.2 billion for bridge replacement and repairs over the next 5 years. That's great. That especially in places like San Francisco, and of course our Port of Los Angeles just opened our new bridge. So those are great things. 9.45 billion over 5 years to improve public transportation options throughout the state. I was just speaking to a client of mine in regards to public transportation, which we are still, in my opinion, failing on because we do not have a decent public transportation system. We don't. Um, so having more trains, I think City of Torrance is actually in the last stages of completing their transit center down on Crenshaw and I want to say Del Amo. So that's good. So we have a lot of things coming in, and it's great to have a transit center, but it doesn't make sense to have a transit center and not have transit. So we need to possibly add trains and buses to that, especially getting in and out of LAX, getting in and out of downtown Los Angeles, getting in and out of the IE, and of course going upstate and going over to Nevada. So we are missing a lot of good opportunities. Looking at Elon Musk, because you said a lot of things about building a bullet train that would get us from here to Vegas, and you've been drilling under Hawthorne for years now. So we're just kind of wondering when all that's gonna. Okay. So yes, investing in transportation for the city, for the state actually of California is definitely on one of my radars. It's something that I want to see occur because I actually use public transportation from here from time to time. And the reason is this: that's what you do when you're in Chicago and New York and in Paris anyway. This is the only state that I've seen that is like ill public transportation. I don't understand that. You go to Europe and there's no cars. They're not obsessed with cars and vehicles and all that stuff. It's public transportation. It's subways. It's trains. It's bicycles even. So I believe we're definitely behind times in getting public transportation systems up and running in the state of California. It just isn't something that we planned for, but we sure did plan for density, didn't we? So we can't have it both ways. We can't say it's dense and there's too many people, but then we're not establishing good infrastructure for people movers. Go figure that one out. Quite interesting. So 384 million over 5 years is going to go to support expansion of EV charging networks in the state of California. I think that's great because I own an EV vehicle, and I do have to charge every other day or every day, depends, or every 2 days. Just kind of depends on how much running around I'm doing. So finding a charging station in and out of town is it's sometimes difficult, and sometimes the wait is long. I was down in the valley last Sunday and had to charge up in Burbank at the Burbank Town Center, and there was a little bit of a wait, even though they had maybe 12 charging stations, but there was a little bit of a wait, and it kept me in the city of Burbank for at least an hour and a half. So, yeah, I find it quite interesting, and I would like to see more EV charging stations. And then, can I make a request, especially folks at Tesla? Can you stop putting charging stations at like the bottom of the barrel, like in the basement or up on the roof? Like, it's okay to put us up by the front door. We don't have to go like into Timbuktu and then get like an Uber, back out. But you can put charging stations where we don't have to walk so far. I'm just saying. I did use charging stations on my trip up to Tahoe, and that was quite lovely. I didn't know that there were some of the charging stations that I ran into. Side note, if you were going that route, the Mojave charging station is one of the worst charging stations I've ever been to in my life. I just want to put that out there. So I had to stop by it twice, and it was not fun. It was like a little scary. Mojave. Okay. So anyways, almost $400 million of that infrastructure bill is going to go into adding more charging stations for us EV vehicle users, and that's a huge thing, and I definitely want to see more of that come down the pipeline. So really good stuff. Okay, so that's just some of what the infrastructure bill is going to give for our lovely state. And what we're looking at obviously is infrastructure, bridges, highways, byways, that sort of thing, in order to get people moving. Okay, and less vehicles on the road, less pollution. I want to talk to you a little bit about apartments and that as a commodity. So I love my real life experiences because they are indeed real life, and it helps me tell a story to a client of what it actually is going on. And so, apartments and multifamily units is actually very affordable. The common person, who is a common buyer, I should say, who is looking to buy just a good old single family residence to live in, is it's almost never looking at multifamily as an option. And I have a set of buyers who are looking for sort of like a multifamily, but I proposed to them a couple of days ago. I said, if we're looking for stuff with ADUs, why don't we just get 2 units? Because that's exactly what ADU is, it's 2 units. And so they said, haha, we might have something there. So multifamily is actually very affordable. When I went and spoke to a lender in regards to getting multifamily, their lending practices said, if you do not have to have 20% down. I'm not sure where that information came from. It just depends from lender to lender. And guess what? You can buy multifamily with an FHA loan with as little as 3% down. So the way that works is that you take the rents, or the rents that you could be making on the units, are, if there's 2 units, you'll take 1 unit because maybe you live in you're supposed to live in the front unit or back unit, but one of them. But you at least could take rents from that empty unit or 2 units, and you apply that to the loan prior to going into escrow. So that gives you more purchasing power in order to buy. I don't know if many of you knew this or not, but yes, you can take the market rates and use that money already as income to help you get the loan on multifamily. So it's a really good deal. So apartments are such a hot commodity, and it's just not in the Inland Empire where we see a lot of people, investors, going in and buying multi-units, right? Demand for multi-family properties jumped 34% in Los Angeles, the OC, and Riverside, San Bernardino counties during the first 9 months of 2021. That information is from CoStar. Quite interesting, and the price is soaring. There's the total dollars spent buying these complexes did increase to about 70% this year so far. That is a huge drop. Rents are up, vacancies are down, apartments are a safe investment, plain and simple, especially in the state of California. You know, if you go out to the Midwest or places like Ohio, a lot of investors really do focus in on multifamily. And when I say investors, I'm saying like your ordinary, 30-year-old entrepreneur who just wants to get into real estate as a way of earning some extra money or, building their portfolio essentially. And it's a very common thing for people to do out there, but it's not in the state of California for some odd reason. State of California, buyers typically start focusing, first time buyers start focusing on single family residents because they want a home of their own. However, if you take that same energy and put it into a multifamily, then you actually have somebody who's helping you pay for that mortgage. You live in the front, they live in the back, or vice versa. And then now you've got an income producing property. And again, a lot of first time home buyers and on the West Coast do not think that way. It's done a lot in the Midwest. I do not know why. I don't understand it. It's just a thing that happens. But I do want to bring to your attention, don't sleep on multifamily units. Multifamily units are a great investment. Rents in the state of California are not going down anytime soon. They just don't go down. I mean, again, we have a very strong economy, and those who can't afford the rent will of course purchase, rent the unit, and there you go. You have good rents. So, it's very important to look at multifamily. It's not something that you should shun your nose to. Low interest rates, rates are still low. So if you're going to get into a single family, why not buy 2 units? I don't get it. And sometimes these 2 units are like the same price of a multifamily. There have been several that came up this year where I have seen the city of Lawndale offer 2 duplexes that were like 750, 800 for the same price as you would probably purchase a single family residence for. And then some of them even come with tenants in place. Some do, some don't. It just depends. You have to work that out during escrow. But these things are out there. And a lot of investors, I think they're just shying away from them for some odd reason. And a lot of people are just kind of turned off by some of the eviction laws that were in place because of COVID, and they figured that they would get tenants in who were not going to pay rent and just kind of squat. Well, guess what? That happened all over the United States. It just didn't happen in the state of California. And now those laws are now changing and they'll be lifted. It's only a temporary thing. It's not like it's going to happen forever. And then you get them out. You evict them out. It's very simple. Hire an eviction attorney. Eviction attorney will you throw a couple of dollars at the problem and they'll go to court for you and you get them out. Big deal. Okay. Under AB 1482, statewide rent cap limits rent hikes to 8.6% a year in Southern California, even if the ownership changes. So there are things in place to protect the tenants, but it's still a super lucrative avenue in order to get income producing properties. There's just a lot of good things about owning multi-units, and since we still have very low rates, and since a lot of people are not looking at multi-units, I would highly suggest you do so. I remember when I first got into real estate, I had no idea who this person I was speaking to, but I was speaking to a person who said, when you buy your first house, Cat, do not buy a single family residence. Buy a duplex. It makes no sense, especially if you're a first time buyer. You could use state of California programs in order to buy, so then you're really not putting much effort or much money into the problem. State of California would do so. So I believe that is a very good I thought that was great advice, and I would actually want to pass that on to you. If it's something you just don't want to do for whatever reason, don't. If it's something that you want to delay, possibly I buy my single family residence first and then I do my multi-unit at my next purchase in 10 years, fine. But as long as you have some sort of plan together, that get you to that next step in life, whatever that might be. Okay. So again, lots of cool things going on. I love giving you guys this information. It makes me very, very happy to share it with you because I can't just have it in my head. I'm going to close out, but now I wanted to tell you a little bit about what's going on just as buyers and sellers, because I know a lot of you have actually reached out to me. So a few things. If you have a real estate person that you are working with, okay, there is a code of ethics that us real estate agents must follow in order to stay compliant with the Department of Real Estate. And one of the code of ethics says this: if you know that a person already has a realtor and that they're working with them, we cannot give them advice, or we can't do all that stuff, okay? It's like an attorney and client, right? If you have an attorney, if you've hired an attorney and they're giving you the information that they need to do in order to get you through your case or whatever the case may be, going to another attorney and getting their input is not, it's just not kosher. It's not worked that way. It's an ethical violation, okay? So we cannot advise you if you've already indicated to us that you are working with another realtor. So I just want to let that be known. It's not that we don't want to help you. It's that we can get in trouble for doing so, because then your agent can come back and say, here is our agency relationship. You have now violated it, okay? It's a very simple thing. That is why we have our clients, our buyers, sign agency forms saying that we have indeed an agency relationship. I know real estate is sales, and it's like, well, whoever gets me the property is going to represent me. That attitude is a big no-no, okay? Because you do not want a person who thinks that you're a maybe. You guys want to have a good relationship so that they can give their 100% to you, okay? So I just want to make that clear. For all of my clients, we have a couple of cool things happening, and it looks like we're going to be getting in some escrows pretty soon. So I'm excited to get those things announced. Thank you for joining me on my Real Estate Live show today. We did it a little bit early today, but I wanted to get this information out to you. It's going to replay, and then, of course, I'll post it on YouTube. So, when you're scrolling late at night, you can go ahead and rewatch it and get more information. If you have any information in regards to anything that I spoke about, if you want to rap with me a little bit about what your thoughts on Zillow, or if you want some more information about buying multi-unit, or if you want to look up the California infrastructure, what we're getting from that bill, give me a call. We can rap about it, or you can send me a private message. I'll be happy to answer you. I'm going to let you get back to your Sunday. It is so hot. It's beautiful, but Jesus, we're in November, okay? And there's Christmas stuff up in Lowe's. So I'm not sure why all the heat, but welcome to state of California. I think I'm gonna go to the beach today in November. Anyways, not my fault. Thank you for joining. We will see you soon. Bye.